I woke up in something warm, wet, sticky. It soaked through my shirt, clinging to my skin in thick patches. For a second, I thought I'd pissed myself, or maybe spilled beer in my sleep. I sat up fast, lungs burning with panic, eyes struggling to focus in the weak gray light leaking through the cabin's windows. Then I saw Wes, or what was left of him. He was lying on the mattress next to mine, his body twisted in a way that didn't make sense, shoulder half off the bed, mouth gaping wide like he'd died mid-scream. Except there wasn't a mouth anymore. Just a mess of bone, sinew, and shredded muscle. His jaw had been peeled open like someone was trying to unhinge it from the inside. His stomach was worse, split wide, guts hanging like vines off the side of the cot. Some parts were missing, just gone. No blood spatter, no signs of a fight, just this vacancy. And it was everywhere. The walls, the ceiling, the floor, all painted red. Not splashed. Not violent. Smeared. Like something had crawled through it. Or out of it. There were handprints in it. No, not hands. Too long. Too thin. Dragging marks that looped and curled across the floorboards and vanished into the far wall, right below the window. I was covered in it. Not a little. My chest, my neck, my arms, drenched. I staggered to the bathroom and threw up, but even that came out wrong. Black. Thick. It felt like tar on my tongue. I splashed water on my face, trembling so hard my knees knocked. My reflection didn't help. There was something off about my eyes. They looked sunken, like I hadn't slept in days. But I had. I'd passed out sometime after midnight. I remember because Wes had just finished telling me one of his stupid horror stories about a bear that could mimic human voices. We'd laugh. We'd had whiskey. And now he was meat. No claw marks. No bullet holes. No visible weapon. No signs of a break-in. But something had been in this cabin. Something that didn't need a door. I backed away from the mirror and looked down at myself again. Something in my chest pulsed. Not pain, more like pressure. Like a balloon inflating, just behind my ribs. I froze. That's when I noticed the sound. Something wet. Slippery. Still moving. Inside me. The lights flickered. And that's when I remembered. Wes wasn't the first to disappear. He was just the first to die in front of me. And I might be next. It started 4 days ago. 5 of us. 2 cars. 1 cooler full of cheap beer. 1 bag full of snacks, and a rental key for a secluded cabin that wasn't even on Google Map. It was Wes's idea, naturally. He said we all needed a break. Real forest, he promised. None of that state park crap. No signs, no fences, no Wi-Fi. Just pine trees, mosquito bites, and freedom. It sounded good at the time. Better than good. We hadn't all been together like this since college. Wes brought me and Julie. Ryan brought his girlfriend, Tasha. The 5 of us had maybe 1 working brain between us when we were drunk, which we often were. But there was something easy about the way we slipped back into it. Card games, inside jokes, late-night ghost stories around the fire. The first night felt golden. Julie called it main character vibes. She was always saying stuff like that. Ryan chopped wood and flexed like he thought he was on a survival show. Tasha rolled her eyes but didn't stop watching him. Wes kept going on about the sacred silence of the place. By the second night, the mood had already shifted. It was subtle. Ryan complained first, said his stomach felt off. Kept burping like he'd swallowed pond water. He skipped dinner, sat near the fire but barely spoke. Tasha joked that he was finally paying for all those gas station burritos. Wes said it was altitude sickness. I remember that part clearly. Wes standing up with his beer, raising it like a toast and saying, "The forest takes what it wants." We laughed. Ryan didn't. He went to bed early, alone in the side cabin. Julie offered to bring him some tea or a flashlight. He waved her off. And in the morning, he was gone. No note. No phone. No bag. His shoes were still by the door. We searched the woods for an hour before we called it. He probably got up early to clear his head, Wes said. He's dramatic like that. Tasha didn't buy it, but she didn't want to panic either. Maybe he's taking a dump somewhere, Julie offered with a weak laugh. But the forest felt different. Colder. The silence wasn't sacred anymore. It was waiting. We tried to joke about it. That was the only way we knew how to deal with the dread. Pretend it wasn't happening. Pretend Ryan wasn't just gone. Tasha paced the porch for hours, calling his name like it mattered. Julie made breakfast no one touched. Wes offered to hike a few miles out and try to get cell service. We all pretended that would fix it. But none of us actually left. Not that day. We stuck close like we were afraid to say it out loud, but we all knew something wasn't right. By nightfall, it wasn't just nerves. It was something else. Julie couldn't sleep. She kept saying she felt watched. That was her word. Not paranoid. Not freaked. Watched. Like eyes were pinned to her back. She asked to sleep in our cabin instead of hers. Wes and I didn't question it. Tasha was the next to vanish. She said she needed to pee and headed for the outhouse with a flashlight around 11. 5 minutes later, Wes offered to check on her. 10 minutes later, I went out with a lantern. No Tasha. No Wes. Just the flashlight, abandoned in the dirt halfway down the trail, still glowing. We searched until sunrise. Found nothing. No blood. No drag marks. No torn fabric or broken branches. Just silence. And still, none of us left. I can't explain that. I think about it now, and it's like something lulled us, numbed us, kept us locked in the rhythm of it. We talked about waiting until morning, then until after breakfast, then until it warmed up. But we never packed, never ran. That's the part that scares me now. Like something was already making us slow, making us comfortable with the wrongness. By the fourth night, it was just me, Wes, and Julie. Wes stood watch outside, sitting on the porch with a hatchet and a bottle of rye. I stayed inside with Julie, holding hands on the floor like kids hiding from thunder. She cried a little. Said she kept waking up feeling like her mouth was open. Like someone was inside her dreams, feeding her something. She said her stomach burned. I didn't want to admit mine did too. By the time I woke up, the fire was dead and Julie was gone. No scream. No trail. Just a warm spot on the blanket where she'd been. Wes came stumbling through the cabin door at dawn, his face pale, his flannel shirt soaked in sweat and mud. I'd barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I thought I felt something crawling behind them, some itch deep in my skull, just out of reach. What happened? I asked. He didn't answer. He just leaned against the wall and slid to the floor, breathing like he'd run for miles. His hands were trembling, coated in dried blood. I thought it was his, until I saw the streaks up his neck, and the gash down the side of his stomach. Is it Julie's? I asked. He didn't look at me, just stared at the floorboards, wide-eyed. I heard her scream, he said after a long pause. But it wasn't her voice. Not really. It was layered. Like someone else was screaming through her. He started rocking back and forth. I saw something move in the trees, he said. Not a person. Too tall. Too thin. It didn't walk, it flowed. I helped him onto the couch. He hissed when I touched his side. The cut wasn't deep, but it was dark, too dark. Veins branching out from it like black lightning bolt. I think it touched me, he whispered. I think it's inside me. I laughed. Couldn't help it. It sounded insane. Delirious. Until I saw his eyes roll back. Until he started retching. Thick, oily bile poured out of him in waves, black, laced with red threads, like chewed wire. It hissed when it hit the floorboards. Wes collapsed forward, twitching, clutching his stomach. I can feel it moving, he sobbed. I should have run. I should have locked the door. Called for help. But I sat there like an idiot, watching my best friend slowly fall apart in front of me. He passed out an hour later, and I tucked a blanket over him like that would fix it. He muttered things in his sleep. Names I didn't recognize. Words that didn't sound like English. I stayed awake. I couldn't sleep again. Because if I did, I was starting to think I'd wake up missing too. I found Wes's phone around noon. It was under the couch, sticky with blood and something else, something that had started to dry in patches, like jelly scraped thin. The screen was cracked but still working. I wanted to use it to call for help. I was still telling myself this could be explained. But there was no signal. Instead, I opened the video folder. And that's when the denial stopped. There were 3 videos from the past 2 days, short, each under 2 minutes. Wes had recorded himself. Not for laughs. Not for memories. For evidence. In the first clip, he looked pale but stable. He was in the bathroom, shirt off, holding the phone up with one hand while pressing the other against his gut. "Something's wrong," he whispered. "I can feel it like movement. Below the ribs. Like I swallowed something alive." He lifted his shirt. His stomach twitched. Not flexed, twitched. Like something was nudging from the inside. The second video was later that night. He was sweating, shivering, face hollow. He kept his voice low, kept glancing behind him. "It hurts when I swallow now. Like something's catching. I thought it was panic, but it's not. It's growing. I can't eat. I don't want to. It's eating for me." He opened his mouth wide at the end of that video, and I swear to God, something twitched inside his throat. I dropped the phone. Had to force myself to keep watching. The third and final clip was from that morning, before he came stumbling in. He looked near death. Lips cracked. Blood around his nostrils. "It's inside me," he whispered. "I don't know how, but it's real. It's hungry. It waits. And when it's ready, when it finds another one, it'll leave." He looked directly into the camera. "And it'll take me with it." I hit pause. Everything felt wrong. My hands were shaking. My stomach turned. I dropped to my knees and vomited. Hard. What came out wasn't food. Wasn't even fluid. It was black. Thick. Almost chunky. It reeked like burned meat and iron and wet mold. I looked down at the puddle, choking on the taste, and something moved in it. A small ripple. A twitch. Gone before I could focus. My stomach cramped. Deep. Violent. Like claws inside my intestines. I clutched the couch, gasping, and suddenly I couldn't tell. Was this the same thing Wes had? Was I just sick? Or had it already entered me? Had it already chosen? I crawled toward Wes, ready to wake him, to scream at him, to beg for help. But he was already sitting up. Eyes open. Mouth open. Smiling. Wes didn't blink. He just sat there on the edge of the mattress, head tilted slightly, mouth half open like he was listening to something only he could hear. The blanket I draped over him had slipped off, revealing his bare chest, and the violent, pulsing bulge that now stretched across his gut. It wasn't just swollen. It was shifting. There were ridges, joints. Something coiled just beneath the skin, pressing outward like it was testing the flesh for weaknesses. I backed away. Fast. "Wes," I said, but it didn't sound like my voice. "What the hell is happening?" He turned his head toward me slowly, smile still plastered across his face like it had been stapled there. "You should have run," he said. "It doesn't like to wait." My knees buckled. "What doesn't?" He made a sound between a gasp and a laugh. "You heard it in the trees. You felt it. You let it in." I did too. I shook my head. "No. No, I didn't." "You did," he said calmly. "When you breathed it in. When it touched your mouth. It waits inside the gut. It eats what you eat. Sleeps when you sleep. It knows your blood now." His chest twitched. Then ripped open. I screamed. It wasn't an explosion. It wasn't fast. It was intentional. The skin peeled. His sternum cracked in slow, wet stages. The bones crackling like a piece of wood splintering apart. Flesh folded outward. Something slick and gray-violet pushed its way out, long-ribbed, shivering. Tentacles bloomed from the cavity, unfolding like parasitic orchid. Each one had hooks, barbs, suction ridges that pulsed with sickening rhythm. Wes was still alive. Still aware. He whispered, "It's hungry," as one of the tentacles snapped toward me. It moved faster than I could scream. Wrapped around my wrist. Another curled around my chest, pinning me. I kicked, thrashed, slammed backward into the wall, but it dragged me across the floor like I weighed nothing. Blood from Wes's cavity smeared across my shirt, sticky and warm, and then it found my mouth. A thin, proboscis-like tendril pushed past my lip, down my throat. I couldn't breathe. My vision blurred. My chest burned. It filled me. Not all at once but in pulses, just enough. Just deep enough. I felt it press against the back of my throat, then deeper. And then silence. Wes collapsed. A husk. The tendrils retracted slowly, slick with blood and bile. I lay there, gasping, eyes wide, shaking. And I knew it was inside me now. I felt full. But not alone. They found me near the back of the cabin, curled against the far wall like a drunk passed out at the end of the world. I didn't hear them come in. Didn't move when they called out. The first to step through the door was a park ranger. Mid-40s, solid frame, broad shoulders that seemed too clean for this place. He kept one hand on the grip of his sidearm, the other raised in that slow, cautious way you see in hostage videos. "Sir," he said gently, "are you injured?" I looked up, not because I wanted to, because it did. My neck turned a second too late. My eyes didn't focus right away. I could feel the thing inside me adjusting, like a passenger choosing the best seat before a crash. The ranger froze when he saw the blood. The room was caked in it. Wes's remains were still slumped over the edge of the mattress. His torso hollow, chest torn like an open book, ribs bent outward in unnatural symmetry. And I was sitting in it all, barefoot, drenched. "I'm not hurt," I croaked. My throat still felt raw. Touched. Another ranger entered behind him, but the first one waved him back. "Where are the others?" he asked. I shook my head slowly. He took another step. "Close now. Close enough to help. Close enough to touch." He knelt in front of me. "I'm going to get you out of here, all right? Just stay with me. Look at me." I did. I wish I hadn't. Because it smiled. Inside my chest, I could feel the skin there stretching. My stomach tensed. My jaw clenched on instinct, but the pressure was building too fast. Something twitched behind my eyes. My spine arched. My mouth flooded with warmth. I tried to speak, tried to warn him, but all I could say was, "It's in me." He blinked, confused. "And," I gasped, "it's still hungry." Then everything tore. A sound like ripping canvas and cracking wood filled the room. My sternum split down the center, pushed open by something wet and twitching and alive. Tentacles shot outward in every direction, latching onto the ranger's arms, his chest, his face. He screamed. It cut off fast. Something long and eel-like lunged into his mouth. I didn't see what happened next. The pain swallowed everything. The last thing I felt was the warmth of his hands trying to hold me. Then, darkness.